David Perry, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the big question. This is part of a process. It's a significant step in the process. What comes next in building these ships?
So the next phase, they're basically going to have to go and do some due diligence. So if you think, it's not a perfect analogy, but one that kind of works. It's like making an offer on a house with conditions. So they're still going to go and they're going to look at the financials to make sure that everything adds up there. They're going to still go through and do a bit of a check to make sure that some elements of the performance actually worked the way that the bidder said that they would. And then they're also going to have to do some negotiations about how exactly you get and what they're going to have to pay to get the right kind of access to intellectual property. And if all that goes smoothly, then you'll have a contract between the Government of Canada and Irving to build the ship, and between Irving and Lockheed Martin Canada for the design work.
Okay, I was going to ask that because we're talking potentially it's sum total $60 billion for this project. How is it divvied up? Because everyone knows that Irving is sort of the master contractor, so how is it going to be divvied up?
So it'll all depend on the precise elements that were bid from Lockheed Martin, but basically you can expect something like half-ish of that money to go to shipyard work, and half to go to basically the systems and the gear that goes inside the actual physical ship. So kind of a 50-50 split would be a rough starting point.
So about 50% for the shipyard, for Irving shipyards, and about 50% for the consortium.
That's right.
A lot of people will see Lockheed Martin and they'll think, well, no, isn't that fighter jets? Like a lot of people don't associate Lockheed Martin with warships. Is it a surprise?
Well, so not to me, because Lockheed Martin's a huge company that does lots of things, and they've actually done a lot of naval work in Canada specifically. Most recently, they were the prime contractor on the system that really makes the ship work, the combat elements of that for the frigate upgrade that just happened in Canada. And then before then, they had involvement different subsidiaries in Canadian programs as well as in the U.S., mostly from a system side, not actually as much in terms of building the ships themselves.
Okay, we're talking 15 ships. We're talking a program that's been delayed many a time. We're talking a program that's already about twice as much as originally thought. When would we theoretically see the first ships built?
So that all depends on how these negotiations go, and then after that there's another period that's going to come next, so there's lots of process here. The phase after you get to a contract is you go through a period of doing a requirement reconciliation. So every bidder proposed doing a bunch of things to meet the Government of Canada's requirement. The Government of Canada and Irving are then going to take a look at that and then go through a period of saying, okay, you said you're going to change X to Y. Do we actually want you to do that? Because making those changes would provide more capability, but it would also involve some element of risk in terms of the design complexity and potentially add some time. So that process all has to come afterwards, so you're probably still something like 3 to 5 years away from actually starting the construction, and then years after that for the first ship to hit the water. Okay,
so what, maybe first ship 2025? Would that be too early?
So the mid-2020s, I think you'd be unlikely to see anything before then.
Okay. The question, when it comes to military procurement, we have seen, be it land-based vehicles, be it helicopters, be it fighter jets, we've seen the consortiums who bid on it and don't win often will go directly to court and to the media saying we were unfairly treated by the Canadian government. Is that possible in this procurement?
I think it's actually likely, not just possible. You've already seen elements of companies that don't think that they had a good position going to the media already, saying that kind of the fix was in, which is totally untrue, but there's been that line of arguments been put forward quite significantly for the Type 26. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if there was actually some kind of legal action.
Are we going to see, I mean, the Canadians are, okay, they're looking at, this is an expensive project, this is going to take a long time. I think when would the last ships be finished? 2050, is it?
Yeah, hopefully a little bit sooner than that. I think around 2040. So if we started building these in 2025, then hopefully the full round of production would be done by about 2040.
Big question for a lot of Canadians when they grit their teeth and say, okay, we're going to spend all this money is there going to be, like there is for fighter jets, a capability gap? Is there going to be a time during which the Canadian Navy just really doesn't have the ships it needs?
So it all depends on how quickly we can actually start production and how quickly you not only build the ships, but then have them past all the test and evaluation period and get into work. You know, certainly based on the timelines, which as you said, have drug out, it wouldn't surprise me if you might need to go back and do another modernization and life extension project on our existing frigates, which would be entirely possible. It just hasn't fully been planned yet, but that's certainly a possibility if things don't go as fast as a lot of people would like.
So are there champagne corks popping in corporate offices at Lockheed Martin, or is this still just an incremental thing?
If there's no champagne, there's probably a few scotches going around, because absolutely it's a big win.
Okay. Well, listen, thank you very much for explaining it. Something tells me this will not be the last time we talk about this whole shipbuilding process. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.